Hey there everyone, I'm Ashley Billington and you're watching The Campfire. This week we're breaking down District 5, 5A, Division 1. We have a great week of content coming at you, and this week we're breaking down District 5, 5A, Division 1. These are the teams that you'll see in this district. District 5, 5A, Division 1. Denton Ryan, Frisco Centennial, Frisco Heritage, Frisco Independence, Frisco Lone Star, Frisco Reedy, Frisco Wakeland, and the Colony. Lone Star, Denton Ryan, the Colony, Wakeland, Frisco Reedy, all amazing teams. And you can't forget Independence as well. You can vote for who you think will take the district crown on our Twitter. It's at IHSS DFW. Now it's time for our film session, presented by your local North Texas Geico agents. District 5, 5A Division 1 will most likely come down to two teams, Denton Ryan and Frisco Lone Star. But don't forget about the rest of the district, because there are quite a few sleepers in there. Let's start with one of the three newcomers to this district, and probably the favorite, Denton Ryan. The Raiders have three of the best players in not only the district, but the state of Texas. Jatavian Sanders is heading to Texas as a defensive end, but is a dominant two-way player. Billy Bowman Jr. is also heading to Texas as a receiver or defensive back, but he can get you in all three facets of the game, as he's a dynamic return man. And Seth Hennigan, the coach's son, has the experience needed behind center to help Ryan on another long playoff run. Frisco Lone Star loves the fact they will get another shot at Ryan, as they lost to them in the state semifinals this past fall. The Rangers return junior quarterback Garrett Rangel and Jaden Nixon on the offense. Speaking of powerful offenses, the Knights of Independence bring back dual-threat quarterback Braylon Braxton and probably the area's best tight end Elijah Arroyo. The Colony head coach Rudy Rangel has a lot of firepower to replace, but the Cougars are always a contender. Frisco Reedy head coach Chad Cole took a blow when his starting quarterback Jalen Kitna moved on to Burleson with his father to play for the Elks. The rest of the Frisco ISD teams, Centennial, Wakeland, and Heritage, will be battling for positioning in a tough district, while newcomer Denton will fight to get some wins. 5A Division 1 is loaded for the 2020 season, and this district might be one of the best. We turn our focus now to the players, where North Texas Honda recognizes players on the rise, those players who are destined to help their team to victory. Denton Ryan's Jatavian Sanders is a two-way force on the field. Sanders is committed to the University of Texas, where he'll be playing defensive end. His time with the Raiders, Jatavian has 70 tackles and averages 2.2 tackles per game. Garrett Rangel will be a junior in the coming season for Lone Star. As a sophomore, Rangel led his team to the state semifinals. His sophomore stats were crazy, as Rangel had 4,855 total passing yards, 50 passing touchdowns, and averaged over 324 passing yards per game. Billy Bowman Jr. is another two-way star for Denton Ryan. Bowman is a threat on either side of the ball. He's also committed to the University of Texas for the 2021 class and scored 17 touchdowns in the 2019 season. Frisco Independence's quarterback Braylon Braxton led his Knights to a 10-3 record in 2019. Braxton had 3,236 total passing yards and 45 passing touchdowns. He tacked on almost 900 more rushing yards and 11 rushing touchdowns to his junior season total. Running back Jaden Nixon will be leaned on heavily in the 2020 season. Scoring the overtime touchdown to send Lone Star to the state semifinals was not his only accomplishment in 2019. Nixon averages over 6 yards per carry and is considered one of the fastest running backs in the 2021 class. And those players are great on the gridiron. But do you know someone from the high school sports scene doing great in your community? Nominate them for North Texas Honda Helpful Hero. To nominate, go to IHSSHelpfulHeroes.com. We've talked about teams. We've talked about players. Now it's time to talk to the coaches who lead these teams on the gridiron. Hey there, I am here with the head coach of the Denton Ryan Raiders, Dave Hennigan. Coach Hennigan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
And I'm not sure there's a team in North Texas that is more hungry than your Raiders. One pass play away from winning the state title last year. How much is getting past that last hump going to motivate you guys in the 2020 season?
Well, every year is different. We've had great success, and we were obviously disappointed that in the way we did. And when you reflect on it, it's a pretty special year regardless, and really it's a pretty special 5-year run we've had. We're 70-5 the last 5 years, and so each year is different. I think that yes, that's part of the motivation. Those kids want to get back to the big stage and this time win it. But we're also, our kids are smart enough and our coaches are smart enough, and we have a very mature program that we know the only way to get back there is to take it day by day and to get better every single day, every single rep, weight room, whatever. And so surely that's always in the back of our mind, honestly, but we never talk about it. It's not something we talk about. What we talk about is going to work every day and being coachable and doing what you're supposed to do and doing right outside of the football facility, in the classroom, on the streets. And then and when you combine those things with talent, then the byproduct is winning.
Completely different district this year as you're in with Lone Star, Independence, the Colony. What do you think about the competition in your new district?
I think it's tougher than what we've been in for sure. I mean, you look at obviously us, and then you have Lone Star, who was number one in the state for the vast majority of the year, has a good team coming back, and of course we played them in the semifinals. And then Independence had a deep run, and then those several of the other schools are very talented. The Colony, and then there's others, and so it's a tough deal. The biggest difference for us really is, which going back, honestly, I think that's going to be good for us. I mean, we've gone the most of the year last year where our starters didn't play a full game, and that's not good. And this year they'll have to play, which is a good thing. And the big difference for us is we moved from Region 1 to Region 2, and Ryan hasn't been in Region 2 in well over a decade. Going to Region 2 is different. I think that the depth of quality teams in Region 2 is it's just deeper than Region 1. I think that's just a fact. And so that's going to be a tremendous challenge. I think we're going to have tougher playoff games earlier in the playoffs. Whereas last year, truth be known, we weren't really challenged in the playoffs, until the semifinals. And so we're going to be looking at a lot bigger challenge there.
And speaking of the challenge that you had in the semifinals, I think the one game in 5A that everyone's got circled is that Denton Ryan Lone Star game. Talk about that game that you guys played against and beating the number one team in 5A, and now, they're in your district.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hyped up game. I don't remember what we were ranked coming in. Of course, they had beaten Highland Park twice, and so and we hadn't been able to get over that hump for whatever reason the previous 3 years, and so everyone really had them favored in that game, and our kids really rose to the challenge and played really well, both sides of the ball. And ended up being it was a close game at halftime, but we really pulled away and put it away relatively early. But it'll be a tremendous challenge. It's a great team over there, very talented. Coach Rayburn and those guys do a tremendous job coaching. And so, and it's really, you may not be aware of this, I don't know if it's come out yet, but it's a week 10 game too. So there's a chance, that we could both be undefeated in districts, possibly, who knows. A lot can happen between now and then, of course, but so it's got the potential to be a really big matchup week 10. It's at our place this year, and obviously there'll be district title, ramifications there, and then who knows, we may see him again in the playoffs.
Now we talk to another 5A Division I coach, Jeff Rayburn. I'm here with the head coach of the Lone Star Rangers, Jeff Rayburn. Coach Rayburn, how's it going?
It's going well. I appreciate you having me today.
You lose Marvin Mims, but a lot of teams are having to break in new quarterbacks. You're not, as you have a junior in Garrett Rangel. How much does having an experienced signal caller give you an advantage over teams that don't have that experience and not having a lot of practice time before the season starts?
Yeah, I think every coach would tell you if there's one position you want experience at, especially with what we're going through right now, it's a quarterback. To have a kid who started 15 games as a sophomore and then coming back and having 2 more years to lead the Rangers, it's a great feeling to have a kid like that leading our team, because he's a special kid, he's a special player, and we know he's going to continue to work and continue to lead our kids and build them up during this process.
Coach, a 9-team district for you to maneuver through next season, but what everyone's going to have their eyes on is your district foe now being Denton Ryan. This is the team that ended your run last year. How much are you looking forward to getting to play them in district next season?
Yeah, anytime you get a chance to play a tradition-rich, great program like Denton Ryan, it makes you better. We got a long ways to go before we get a chance to play them again, and a lot of areas for us to improve on. But it's great for our district. Our district, I think, got even stronger, if that's possible, from last year. You bring in Denton Ryan, you bring Denton High, the Colony, Independence is going to be loaded again after a long playoff run. So we're excited about the quality of opponents that we're going to have. But we get the chance to play Denton Ryan at their place at the last game of the season, regular season. So that should be a fun one. We played them last year and in the past, and it's always been great games. So always looking forward to a great game like that.
And you just talked about Denton Ryan a little bit, mentioned a couple of other teams. So can you kind of break down this new district that y'all are going to be in after realignment for us?
Yeah, it starts with the Frisco schools because we're all so familiar with each other. And all the kids know each other. There's a lot of built-in rivalries just because these kids grew up together. And every week, doesn't matter what the record is, anybody can beat anybody because everybody's so well coached, and those rivalry games, kids get up to play different people. I'll tell you, I mentioned Independence. They're going to have a great cast of characters coming back. And so there'll be a team that's up at the top of the district. Obviously, Denton Ryan, Denton, and the Colony are all great programs. So I think top to bottom, this is one of the toughest districts around the Metroplex, and just being in Region 2 is already hard enough. You add in some of these teams, so it's going to be fun, that's for sure.
Thank you to Coach Hennigan and Coach Rayburn. Good luck to both of your teams this season. I already have that Denton Ryan Frisco Lone Star game circled on my calendar if things go as planned for the football season. Now we have a few messages from our sponsors and a quick trivia question for you. District 5 5A Division I trivia question. Which of these women is a Denton High School alumni, former Miss Texas, and pioneer female sportscaster? A. Gail Gardner, B. Jane Kennedy, C. Robin Roberts, or D. Phyllis George? The answer when we return.
The North Texas Honda dealers recognize members of our high school sports community who take time out to be helpful heroes. Nominate a helpful hero today at IHSShelpfulheroes.com. The film session is brought to you by your local North Texas Geico agents. To find the office near you, go to geico.com/DFW. The District Breakdown is presented by GiveMeTheVIN.com. These teams make it look easy, just like GiveMeTheVIN.com makes it easy to sell your vehicle.
Welcome back to the Campfire. District 5 5A Division I's trivia question was, which of these women is a Denton High School alumni, former Miss Texas, and pioneer female sportscaster? A. Gail Gardner, B. Jane Kennedy, C. Robin Roberts, or D. Phyllis George? If you answered D. Phyllis George, you're correct. Phyllis George was considered a pioneer in female sports broadcasting, definitely someone that I've looked up to over the years. She was on CBS Sports in her first job as a sportscaster. Now it's time for the District Breakdown, presented by GiveMeTheVIN.com. We have Inside High School Sports Insider Ryan Harris on to break down District 5 5A Division I. Ryan?
Well, thanks, Ashley. And District 5 5A Division 1 has a lot of talent, and headlined is Denton Ryan and Frisco Lone Star. Now those two faced off against each other last year in the playoffs. It was the state semifinals with a chance to go to Arlington. Denton Ryan finally got over the hump and they beat Frisco Lone Star. They're gonna be my pick, Denton Ryan is, to win this district. They're returning talent across the board. They're losing star Drew Sanders to Alabama, but they are returning quarterback and Memphis commit Seth Hennigan. They're returning 2 Texas commits in Jatavian Sanders and Billy Bowman Jr., guys that Hennigan can get the ball to, that will also play a little bit of defense when they need to. And they're returning talent elsewhere. So this team is going to be back in 2020. They don't have to face Shadow Creek again. That state championship game, it came down to the very last play. Hennigan threw it up for Drew Sanders, and a Shadow Creek defensive back tipped the ball out of his fingertips in the end zone. It really is a game of inches. But Denton Ryan doesn't have to face Shadow Creek this year. They've moved up to 6A. So I'm interested to see if they're going to be able to respond, get back to that state championship game, have a new opponent to face from the Houston area, and who knows, maybe they win a championship in 2020. But that isn't without having to beat Frisco Lone Star, likely both in district and in the playoffs, because they have talent back across the board as well. That includes quarterback Garrett Rangel, running back Jaden Nixon, who you may remember scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime against Highland Park. They have talent back at receivers, including Brandon Spencer and Trace Bruckler. But they are losing that security blanket that is Marvin Mims. He's got up about 3 hours north of here to play for Oklahoma. Now, they're gonna miss Marvin Mims, and I'm really interested to see how Garrett Rangel leads the offense without having that receiver that he knows he can just throw the ball up to, and he'll 9 times out of 10, he's gonna come down with it. So look for that in 2020. Can Frisco Lone Star move on without Marvin Mims? Now, Frisco Independence is returning a lot of talent as well. That includes quarterback Braylon Braxton. It also includes star tight end and top recruit Elijah Arroyo. Now, those two are going to have to lead that offense through a tough district. Again, I've already mentioned the top 2 teams in that district, and Independence has the talent to challenge those schools for a district championship. They went 10-3 last year. They're returning most of their talent in 2020, so expect them to challenge for a district championship. This is a district that is very top heavy, where you have 3 really good teams that are all returning talent across the board. What does that 4th playoff spot look like? Well, last year I would have said the Colony. They're gonna fit in really well. They had Mikey Harrington, they had a slew of other Division I prospects. Those guys are all gone. Now, they went 8-3 last year. What are they going to do this year? They have a lot of questions. They have talent back along the offensive line and in the secondary. But again, who's going to be the quarterback? Who's going to step up at receiver? Those are big questions that the Cougars are going to have to answer before the season starts. That doesn't mean that they won't make the playoffs. They'll likely contend for that 4th playoff spot, but we'll have to see who they're bringing in behind those talented guys that just left. Now, there are a few other teams that will push them for that spot. Frisco Wakeland is one. Frisco Reedy is moving up. They made the playoffs last year. They're moving up from Division II. So they could push for a playoff spot. Frisco Centennial only went 2-8 last year, but they're returning their quarterback in Grayson Dairies. So there's some talent in this district behind those top 3 schools. Now, my player to watch is Frisco Lone Star quarterback Garrett Rangel. He's already got Power 5 offers from a handful of schools. He was just a sophomore last year. He'll be a junior this year. Again, as I mentioned, I'm really interested to see how he responds to not having that security blanket in receiver Marvin Mims. I think he's going to have a big season and that his recruitment is going to blow up after this year. Now, my team to watch is Denton Ryan. Again, they finally made that elusive state championship game appearance in 2019. They came inches away from defeating Shadow Creek. And again, Shadow Creek is a legitimate 6A talent. Now they've moved up to 6A, so now Denton Ryan, again, like I said, doesn't have to face them in the state championship game. But they will have to go through Frisco Lone Star. There are other talented teams all across 5A Division I. Can they get there? That is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Ryan, great insight as always. Thank you. I'll see you next week. That's all we have for this episode of The Campfire. Come back every Monday for a new show. Next week, we'll be breaking down 6-5A Division 1. It's going to be a jam-packed week on our social media platforms. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Bring you original content all focused on the district we are talking about this week, 5-5A Division 1. So stay tuned all week long. Until next time, I'm Ashley Billington, and thank you for watching The Campfire.